Truth. Now it seems like a thing of the past. Rudy Giuliani and Preet Bharara log in.
Then a deep dive into Twitter with Jack Dorsey.
And Magic Leap comes out of hiding. What are folks really saying?
All this and more on this week's edition of Future Forward. I'm Gene DeRose.
And I'm Steve Rosenbaum. And let's launch. All right. So, we're in the dog days of summer. You'd think things would slow down, but it seems like everybody uses this 2 weeks to throw stuff out in the market or cause trouble or light things on fire. I mean, it's not a quiet time.
Yeah. Have you been relaxing yourself?
No.
Well, I know you don't relax, but you enjoy yourself, so it's not a stressful kind of thing.
Yeah, most of the world. I read a book.
What? You read a book? That's impressive. Yeah. Most of the world is caught up to tech. It always was that tech never really stopped and the startup community never stopped. But these days, I think, especially the last 2 weeks of August, people are revving their engines. So same thing with us, and let's get into it.
So, I love that as you meander through the web, things just so piss you off that you make a note to yourself, must hate this on the show this week. So what has gotten under your skin? We'll do loving first or hating first? You tell me.
I'm going to try to do loving first, but you nailed it. And I have been confessing to this over time that I'm driven by my perfectionism. And when things are not perfect, as they never are, my hatred gets triggered first. But I will try to reverse engineer it. So this week I am loving when digital products are consistent and just as robust as they move from web to mobile. And you'd think that would be an easy thing to do, and it isn't. I'll start with commending the several ones that I think do a good job, and a lot of them do a good job. And this sometimes has to do with what the kind of functionality and data is that a product has. But I'll name LinkedIn, almost surprisingly, because there's a lot going on there, Spotify, Slack, and Facebook as big digital brands that really do a terrific job of making sure not just web and smartphones, but I would even extend it to tablets because occasionally you see some weaknesses there. And so they do a great job, and thus I don't have a lot to say about it. But what I really do have a lot to say about, although I'll try to keep it limited, is the fail side of this. And so what I'm hating is when digital products suck as you go from web to digital. And in this case, I'm going to mention 4 products that I really like. One is Pandora, who doesn't let you, manage or add seeds or do things to manipulate your stations. You have to go to the web to do that. Merriam-Webster. I long since used that instead of dictionary.com's dregsy, ads. But I was doing a New York Times, crossword puzzle thing, and I was looking up a word that I thought I had right from last week, and the word was crackback, as in the crackback block. And on the app, it didn't have it as a word, and I really was scratching my head. So I went to the website, and there it was. I mean, that's astonishing. And then Instagram is my other one, and ESPN. Instagram does not even have still an iPad or a tablet app, and that's why I get them. And ESPN I've talked about before. They just do not do a good job at making their mobile app robust. So that's
So I'm going to disagree with you only about one thing, which is I think that, like in the case of Instagram, they're a mobile product. They're designed for a mobile audience. They build I think that they build a website because they kind of have to, but internally, I don't think there's any discussion about parity. I think it's our audience is mobile. We kind of don't care.
No, and you know what? I actually do agree with that, and I probably should have mentioned that because it's not just the functionality; it's whether they're mobile native or desktop native or neither. I would say this though: you get to a certain size, it's not a big deal to throw off. It won't dissuade people or move the emphasis in the wrong direction. And I find they could do better. But I'm more about the mobile app not being there and the tablet mode than I am worried about their website. But it's a good point, and I will acknowledge that.
So let's jump into truth because it's just so frothy and complicated. I alternately think that, some days I think Giuliani is just losing it. But mostly I think if you could get on CNN and literally say anything, like you could go on CNN this afternoon and say, you know what, I think in order to get to, you equity in the workplace between men and women, everyone should be required by law and edict to wear a skirt. And you could just literally make shit up and then know that the media would scramble down the path of going, oh my God, Jean DeRose is making everyone wear gender neutral clothes. Like that would, like, I just think that, like, does Giuliani really, like, I want to, like, know inside his brain, does he actually really believe that there are different versions of truth? Or is that just the thing he made up because he was tired?
I think he made it up on the spot, partly because he was tired. I also think his, opportunistic prevaricating, which means, lying, dodging, dancing, in whatever direction the conversation goes, is emotionally right in line with what Trump would like to see. And I would finally say, I'm still reserving a tiny little bit of respect for him in the hopes that his lawyerly instincts are kind of planting some of these words and ideas, but I don't give great credence to that. And I think we're just at a stage where this has just become, truth is run amok. There's not enough accountability. I blame equally the digital, guys and the traditional broadcasters that should stop things cold and work it out if somebody is lying, and they should be forced at gunpoint. But nobody plays ball with that. So It's a tough situation we're in.
Yeah, no, I've been a fan of Preet Bharara for a long time, but I got to tell you, I thought his response back to Giuliani was just so spot on. He's basically, he just came out and was like, Rudy doesn't remember what the truth is, which I just thought was fabulous. Like, and for someone as buttoned up as he is and as much of an attorney as like Preet does choose his words carefully. Like, Rudy doesn't. Preet does.
No, and look, you hate to get politically one-sided about this, but right now, and we talked about this in another context last week about conservatives being, better at digital, and it isn't just what the essence of truth or accountability is. It's the simplicity of emotionally powered arguments win the day over the laziness of people that would rather go with emotional urges than the messy, spinachy details of accountability.
So did you see the Jack Dorsey CNN, either the edited version or the long version or the highlights or the the Brian clips?
Edited. What do you think?
I'm a little puzzled. A bunch of things. I'm puzzled by why he's doing it. Like, I mean, at the risk of making my friends angry at me, it seemed a little bit like transparency theater to me.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we're answering questions and therefore we're being transparent, but we're really not going to say anything because it's a big problem and we're going to think about it a lot. But thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, and you and I know enough of the people and the people who know the people to know that that was a nice get that Brian had within a network of friends and colleagues he would be able to get. But I think you're completely right, and I think it underscores like two kinds of things about Twitter more than anything. Because why shouldn't Brian go after it? One is that I think Jack's the kind of guy, like many another internet brainiac, that thinks he can take any of these things on and just conquer it, and
Boy, that reminds me of somebody. I just can't think of the name. Someone who thinks they can just take things on without being. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Although I think it's the biggest one in tech that's been doing that lately is Elon Musk. The whole idea that you can just kind of freelance and win the day. So that's part one. Part two is from a corporate side, the lack of creating and understanding the messages that you want to bring to a given, discussion and the points behind them, right? Just freelancing it. It's transparent and that's great. But if transparency means, the roughshod nature of this is what gets exposed, that doesn't really give us faith in them. So I thought it was a little all over the place.
So I'm going to even be a little bit more negative. I thought that his answers were, like, to me, they were a pretty clear set of footprints into how wrong they're going.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna try and algorithmically get a better handle on healthy conversations. Well, guess what?
By the way, on video, you're going to see me waving wildly at my daughter to not come in and start talking. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I mean, I just think health, I think that the problem that they're trying to solve with an algorithm is an unsolvable problem. I think that the difference between you and I having a civil conversation about Twitter and you and I having a disrespectful conversation amongst ourselves and you and us having a pornographic conversation is a sliding scale that depends on things that are not algorithmic, like how well do Gene and Steve know each other? What kind of language have they used together in the past?
Right.
I mean, my friend Gary Vee curses like a sailor when he does public speaking. So will an algorithm smell that out and go, "I'm sorry, Gary, we've restricted your tweet"? Like, it's a disappointing. Like, I keep waiting for someone,
right,
to say, you know what? Guess what? We own a company, and we want to define speech in the way we define it because we produce a product called Twitter or Facebook or whatever it's going to be, and we're not going to try and be this fake, fair and balanced thing. We're going to say, you know what, that conversation makes enough of our users uncomfortable that we're shutting it down.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it comes down to a certain kind of media training or lack thereof. Again, someone can be smart, concise, charismatic, articulate, and really be running things and be transparent and still make a hash of it. And I think that the truth is, there's a version of transparency that is relaxed and willing to just get into the difficulties that you're talking about it, right? Talking about, just to say, look, we've been doing this and that and whatever. And some people think the algorithm never can get at it. This is difficult stuff. Like, I think there's a way to make a more engaging presentation of what's going on, instead of this feeling that they put a wall of kind of infallibility in front of what they're doing. I don't know. It just.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say that if Jack Dorsey had balls, he would say, guess what? We don't think the president of the United States should be on our platform. We think it's dangerous. We think it's ill-advised. We can't tell if it's policy when he tweets or when he makes mistakes and there's spelling errors and there's typos. We can't tell who has access to his domain, his URL, or his Twitter account. So some days it's the president speaking, and other days it's some person from the communications department speaking through him, and other days he says, well, wait, he didn't mean that, he was just kidding, and we think it's dangerous and we're shutting it off.
Well,
period,
okay.
Full stop.
Yeah, I think I would disagree a little. I'm sorry. On the absolutism of what you would suggest he says, because I think you're close to something, or at least I agree with part of it, which is, he can do a simple enough but detailed ticking off of where, he's breaking, rules or presenting challenges that Twitter has not come close to being able to deal with before to date, which is that one issue of identity, the fact that you can have ghostwriters that don't get mentioned one way or the other, and a few other things like this. I feel like, that from our best practices point of view, he's doing a lot of things wrong. Now that you're thinking this is the leader of the free world saying things that have got to be quoted a lot, this is a very, very volatile situation. I don't know that he can shut it off unless he was able to somehow divide himself into, from a personal point of view, I think this is a disaster. Officially, there's nothing we could do here. But you know what I'm saying? I feel like you're right.
But explain to me where this even-handedness is a corporate edict. I mean,
no, it's not a corporate edict.
So Dannon yogurt. Dannon has strawberry. They've got blueberry. They've got peach. I'm pretty sure they don't have pistachio. Right. I like pistachio. Never really had pistachio yogurt, but I like pistachio as a flavor. So could I sue them and say you're biased against me because I'm not getting pistachio? No, they're a private company. They can, they're a public company, but they don't have to make pistachio. Companies can make rules about what flavors they produce. They can say we think it's dangerous for people that hold public office to use our platform indiscriminately as a transmission tool.
Look, I guess let me try to say it another way. I guess it would be a slippery slope that would be hard. Like, there's a kernel of something there powerful, which is that if people are saying absolute untruths, and say they're doing it, under an official account of some sort or another, it would be interesting, right? Like that should be shut down. But I don't know how they go about managing that in a way that makes the president any different than anyone else. It's
absolute untruths, like saying that you got more African Americans jobs than Barack Obama did, when the math is absolutely, from the Labor Department, not that. It's an absolute untruth. They have to walk it back.
As being something. I want to make sure that when I'm saying it, I mean things that are truly, obvious and by all conventional wisdom. But it's a slippery slope too, because even climate change is kind of one of those things where I guess you can't shut down someone who's going to claim they have it on some other sources. This is a tough one. I just don't.
All right. So I'm trying to be kind of clearly one side on this, because I don't think it's a slippery slope. I don't think it's tough. I think lying is lying. I think truth is truth. I think Giuliani is wrong. I think Preet Bharara is right. And I think at least a third of the time, Trump's things that he says, he literally walks back or are provably false.
Well, look, I'm just going to go back to media accountability on this, and holding people's feet to the fire is as important as anything. And maybe there should be a place where, newspapers long since have had the Ombudsman kind of presence.
Ooh, I love that idea. Wait. That's the headline of the whole podcast.
Yeah.
Twitter needs an Ombudsman. That's a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's our new. All right, so we're gonna stop right there, because I'm putting that all out in my whole network. Let's move on to something far more fluffy but complicated, and let's talk about Magic Leap.
Yeah. Well, look, I want to hear from you first, because you have been kind of living this kind of headset side of things. Although I will say that my son did some STEM summer camp this month, and put on a headset that helped him get inside the eyes of a drone. But let's hear what's your sense of it, because it's expensive.
So I went and reviewed Microsoft HoloLens back in the day. Went in eyes wide open, expected it to be early but cool, and was thoroughly, heartbreakingly, crushingly disappointed, and wrote maybe the most negative product review I've ever written in my career as a journalist.
And what was your main complaint?
It was like little postage stamp size videos. It didn't wrap around your head. It was not. Yeah. So when I haven't yet used Magic Leap, so put a little pin in that.
Okay,
the reviews that I saw said that the field of vision was too narrow, in some ways similar to HoloLens, and I was just like, really?
That's crazy.
I mean, how many millions or billions of dollars have they raised? It's some staggering number, right?
Yeah, that's terrible, especially for the expensiveness of it, because you would think that. See, I don't understand that at all. If you're going to have something that's the equivalent of what do they call them, test cars that the big auto companies will put out, you better blow people out of their seats. I don't understand that. Well, what's the, can we reference back to the Facebook one as well to just contextualize? What did you think of that?
Um, Facebook Oculus.
Oculus, yes.
Yeah. So I like that one better. But that was not AR. That was VR. That was a full. I mean,
I'm sorry. That's
yeah,
right.
no, that's all right. I mean, look, it's complicated stuff. I, Magic Leap was supposed to demo at the TED conference now 3 years ago. They were on the schedule to do an 18-minute TED talk about VR, and they pulled out, which no one ever does at TED. Like, I can't think of another time in all the years I've been going that anyone literally was on the schedule. And I mean, they have been gearing up this announcement for so long. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was going to be, all the buzzwords were like game changer, you know, I, um, I don't know.
Well, that's what
And
happens in tech a lot. A lot of times,
and,
and
and
they,
then just to be surfacey for a second,
yep,
I don't think I like the glasses.
right,
I
right.
think they look kind of goofy.
Yeah, yeah. That's to me. That's look. I've said this before, but I think there's corollaries in whether it's VR or AR or even HD TV for that matter, or 3D TV, I should say, where in the video games you've seen the sort of two directions you go. You can have the Legend of Zelda direction where verisimilitude and amazingly vivid, realistic graphics and details, wall to wall, can just be unbelievable. But not everyone can do that, and it's expensive and takes a lot of processing power. Or you can use primitive, but also kind of 360. Minecraft and some of these other games, use intentionally pixelated approach, but the 360, full color execution of that is so wonderful that you don't mind the fact that you're inside of a 3D graph paper world, right? So I feel like what you just said about the postage stamp stuff and the narrow, like, that's a non-starter. I'm out,
Yeah. I also just think I was surprised at how, I mean, given the amount of time that they had, you know, tech tech product release 101, you don't just kind of float it out in the market. Like, there should have been a big event. There should have been, influencers and thought leaders and all that. Like, they could have found a way to have it. Like, I'm as we talk, I'm looking at the video that was posted on Road to VR, and it looks cool. I mean, people seem like in the prepackaged PR video, it looks cool. Having not anyway, so the long and short of it is, having not tried it, a little disappointed. The press is not good, and you know, it'll be interesting to see if they can actually recover it. But remind me, what is, like, when you look at the goggles, they have those big round things. Doesn't that look like something to you? Doesn't that look like a science fiction movie? I'm trying to remember which one it looks like.
Yeah. No, different ones that are, it can be half your head in some cases, So, look, I know we have to move on, but I'll go back to some of this. Reminds me a little bit of how web video evolved, which is, everyone thought forever it was going to be dictated by the cable guys and the TV standards and the digital web, until 2 years after Google acquired YouTube. And then suddenly everyone wakes up and it's like, no, this just incrementally evolved through the existing ways we use technology, which in that case was, the desktop browser. And, my feeling is things that work and plug into your Android and iPhone as an accessory is going to be what drives the market. I don't care about the rest,
Yeah.
That's heresy in a little,
All right. So for those of you listening, we're going to put all the Magic Leap reviews in the comments section, in the text section of the pod. We'd love to hear feedback, particularly if there's someone out there that has one and wants to make a video. Like, we'd love to see it in captivity. So far, all the videos I've seen have been kind of studio produced, a little too glossy. I'd like some real user reviews.
Yeah. Okay, I agree.
All right. And then last but not least, in our ongoing attempt to remain current and kind of in the universe that exists in our space, we got to talk about are you a burner?
I am best friends since second grade with a birder, and so I have been to Costa Rica on the National Audubon Society's.
Nope. So, sorry, you've not a birder, a burner, Burning Man. A birder is funny. Are you a
Oh my
burner?
God. No, but my wife went with her father 2 years ago, and I, just like you, have so many friends that have gone. And oddly, I don't know why I haven't ever made it there. So let's talk about it, because I have a spin on this that's contrary to that article.
Well, tell me what she said. I mean,
Well,
she didn't go again.
Always wanted to do it, and had lived in San Francisco for many years. So the San Francisco Bay Area community goes there a lot more than, say, the New York or East Coast or even LA community. And her father, my father-in-law, who's a tech guy himself and has long since settled in that area, decided to try it at the age of 70. So she went with her 70-year-old father, and they had a great time. But they kind of did not in steerage, let me put it that way. They had a great time.
So there's an article on Fast Company about building Burning Man, and I'd never given it a moment's thought. I have a lot of friends that are burners, and I know a lot of them are now deeply ensconced in building Burning Man. And now that it was a good video. I understood what they meant.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And, here, my spin on this is that, sometimes when things are looked at critically, they're shot filter, and by that I mean, if the only point of Burning Man was to have a simple, quick, easy experience and be where all the buzz was generated and, and get a lot of, they're not actually taking the true amazing theory and themes of what Burning Man even is as the central, idea. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be its own self-contained, build and destroy experience. It's meant to be about the community, the tent city that goes up and gets taken down there, and the community around it. So I don't know. I feel like they're kind of skipping.
I think you should go next year and cover it for the pod. I think you should go.
I'm missing it this year. I've got to go one of these years. I mean, and I don't care if it's not the hot thing that it once was, even though more people than ever are going to it. I love it. It's been and I'm a kind of a former deadhead, so I'm really betraying my roots in many ways.
We are out of time. We have settled on the fact that we are sending Gene to Burning Man next year. So send in your shekels.
Not birding, man. Even though if we ever want to talk about digital and birding.
Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Steve. See you, buddy.